He just turned.
We're all in the dark.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors meeting of Thursday, April the 23rd. Ms. Calloway, will you call the roll?
Dr. Orth. Here. Dr. Leming.
Here.
Mr. Hutson.
Here.
Mr. Chriscoe.
Here.
Mr. Nicosia.
Here.
Ms. Hanson. Here. Mr. Bonniville.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. All that are able, would you please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance given by the Honorable Dr. Joseph Leming, Petsworth District.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come together and ask your guidance and wisdom on deliberations regarding the budget. On a national and state basis, we ask your prayers for the legislative, executive, and judicial branches that they may guide us smartly in final decisions. We pray for our president. We pray for our troops. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we will move now to our public comment period. Anybody wishing to come forward, please state your name, your magisterial district, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. I do know we have a couple of online submittals as well. Okay, Ms. Tyler?
First one is from Deborah Tate from Ware. Subject, importance of evaluating catastrophic caps in health plan decisions. Dear members of the board, I am writing to encourage you to give careful consideration to catastrophic out-of-pocket caps when evaluating and approving health insurance plan options for county employees. While premiums and routine cost sharing often receive the most attention, the catastrophic cap is one of the most consequential features of any health plan. It represents the maximum financial exposure an employee or family may face in the event of a serious illness, injury, or unexpected medical crisis. In these situations, the difference between plans can amount to thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. A plan with a lower premium but a significantly higher out-of-pocket maximum may appear cost-effective on the surface, but it can place substantial financial strain on employees when they are most vulnerable. Conversely, plans with more protective caps can provide meaningful financial security, improve employee well-being, and reduce the risk of medical debt. As you weigh plan options, I respectfully urge you to compare out-of-pocket maximums alongside premiums and deductibles, consider the real-world financial impact on employees and their families, evaluate how plan design supports workforce stability, retention, and morale. Health insurance should not only be affordable in the best-case scenario, but also protective in the worst-case scenario. Ensuring the catastrophic caps are thoughtfully analyzed is essential to making a responsible and equitable decision. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the well-being of county employees. The next one is from Andrew Double from Belvin Place. Will the county employees receive a raise to help cover the increased cost of insurance offered through the county? It seems highly unfair to raise everything else and not give the employees a notable pay increase to help with the increased cost of daily life. And that's the last one, Mr. Chair.
Before I close public comment, is there anybody else who would like to speak to the board this evening? Okay. With that, we will close the public comment period and move into our budget discussion. Before we start that, I believe Ms. Calloway has prepared a small presentation to go over to show us where we currently are before we start working this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have. All right, so this evening I do have several slides that I'll walk through, and these are generally going to be, well, they will be all in funds other than the general fund. So we've put a lot of emphasis on the general fund, but I want to also make the board aware of other changes as well as carryovers from projects ongoing in fiscal year 27 that we are requesting to be carried over to ongoing in 26 that we're requesting to be carried over into 27. So those carryovers are not new funding that we're requesting. They will not impact the bottom line of the budget as far as the net revenues and expenditures, but they are necessary in order to continue projects that are currently progressing. And then I will walk the board through a few budget refinements that we've done on some estimates in the general fund, and that will be in the spreadsheet, the board work doc that we've looked at prior.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Ms. Callaway, just for my benefit, I want to make sure I heard what you said about the carryovers. So the carryovers carry over not only their expense, but they carry over their financing, and that's why they have zero effect on the budget. Am I
Yes,
correct?
sir. Thank you for
ma'am.
that clarification. Okay, so you'll notice throughout this, oh, it's not, that's my fault. Sorry about that. Hold on.
She sees it. It's up there. It's just not there.
All right. Is that, there we go. Got it. All right, you'll notice throughout this presentation, the way I've tried to organize it is by showing the budget as we presented it in March 9th. So this is the exact same slide out of that March 9th presentation, and then I'm gonna walk you through changes and since March 9th and show you where we are now. So capital fund, again, changes from, or the exact slide that was presented in March. And then this is the listing of capital fund carryovers. So you'll notice that each of these carryovers is listed in that second column under estimated carryover. That's the expenditure portion. And then we've listed the corresponding revenue in the next three columns. Some of these projects are funded with fund balance. You'll also notice the grant funds. And then you'll note the firehouse, which is highlighted in yellow because I have a couple of additional notes on that project specifically. So this project is a carry forward, but it's also got some revisions to it. It was previously in our budget at the $17,389,796. However, we've had many meetings, and that number is now $20 million to include both contingency as well as issuance costs. This project is being funded with 501c3 tax-exempt bonds, and those types of bonds only have a limitation that only 2% of the issuance costs can be included in the borrowing. So something I wanted to highlight is that we had initially included an estimated issuance cost of $750,000 in this, included in that $20 million number. However, this limitation would require approximately $365,000 to be funded with a source other than bonds. So I will be seeking board direction this evening or in a future work session on how the board wishes to include that in the budget. However, for now, I have included it as simply other income as the funding source. You do have some options. We have $1 million that the fire department has told us they will contribute. And there will be more to come on that in the debt service fund, where I'll show you how that is being utilized, a portion of it for the first interest payment. So we'll have some of that $365 left, but not all.
That assumes that this project, we have to borrow the full 20 million. So that number's going to change depending on what we have to borrow.
Correct. It's limited to 2% of the par amount of the bond.
So it could go higher.
Well, I would anticipate it would go lower because the 20 million will be the not to exceed.
Correct.
So that 2%, if we borrow, there wouldn't be a scenario unless the board chooses to advertise a higher borrowing in which we could go above the 20 million.
If the cost, I'll let you go with that, but if the costs are higher and the amount's lower, it's gonna be a bigger percentage. The 2% is gonna be less, so it would be
Yes.
potentially be more.
The 2%, correct, the out of pocket would be higher. I see what you're saying. Yes, we're on the same page.
Mr. Wilmot.
Why can't we limit our cost 2% with Davenport and whoever our bond counsel is? Why can't we limit the cost?
So I am currently gathering estimates on those costs, and my understanding is that there was also discussion on perhaps including issuance cost from from the fire department's councils that have been included in the issuance, and my understanding is we perhaps are already exceeding the 2%.
Care not what the fire department has incurred. I only care what the county has incurred. My question is, I would request that we limit the cost of the county to the 2% limit on the issuance costs. So I would urge that you do that. Thank you.
And I will do my best. I cannot confirm that we've not already exceeded that amount. Okay.
Matt, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Leming?
And when you said we intend to use, I just want to be clear, when we intend to use the $1 million transfer from the fire department to the county to cover the first, I believe your words were first interest-only payment, is that the first year's interest-only payment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So with those revisions that were outlined as one slide ago, the final amounts of the capital fund for fiscal year 27 would be $38.3 million. So that is including carryovers, which are listed in the second numerical column. You'll also note that in that revisions column, the third numerical column, we have removed the $8 million for the body top project from being issued as debt and moved that into being transferred in from the school sales tax fund.
In cash?
Correct. And I do have some details on that. Something that we discussed in the last board meeting was the implementation of our Tyler Munis software. So there was discussion on, can you provide the phase 2 cost? So what I wanted to do is first go back a little bit, and I pulled a couple of slides from the fiscal year 2026 budget presentation, which may help with giving a little bit of background on this project and why we're doing this. So this project, this particular software that we are currently replacing was implemented in 2004, and it was upgraded subsequently twice, and we're now at end of life. We're nearing being unsupported, which is concerning. And it also is the system of record for 6 of our departments, and you can see those departments listed there. So this particular request to replace this software has been in the capital improvement plan since 2015, and previously we have also done a couple of other software implementations with Munis to replace software in the treasurer and commissioner's office. So that's just a little bit of background on that. And one more of the background, this really is more just for the why, and I thought it might be helpful for our reference, but we have experienced more frequent downtime, which directly impacts our ability to serve the citizens, particularly in the departments that involve permitting or utility billing. We also have noticed a lack of support with this particular group. And so we did poll, I think I talked to at least 25 or 26 other localities, and Tyler Munis, what we are implementing is what everyone is moving towards. So we do have an excellent network of other local governments that are already using this software successfully. And so this was, again, a note from fiscal year 26 budget presentation. All software now is subscription-based. There's an annual recurring fee. There's no longer a place where you can buy a one-time software and you're done. You upgrade every 5 or 10 years. You pay for all of this annually, which I believe you have all noted at this point, the increase in the information technology budget, which is directly related to this implementation. Okay, so the cost. This is getting into a new slide. This is 27 stuff. So I talked about this project in 2 phases. That's not exactly how they do the billing, so it's a little tricky. As I mentioned, this is a subscription-based software, so that software, as they turn on the modules, you start paying for them. So I've talked about we're working on implementing financials as well as human resources and utility billing, which all go together. So we're paying for these modules now because we're working on implementing them. So when I said of different phases, I believe we have approximately $150,000 to $250,000 additional from what we have currently budgeted that will be needed in 28, possibly mid-27, to finalize this implementation and bring on board the community development departments. So it's not exactly a perfect phase 1, phase 2, but hopefully that gives you some good information for a future budget. Currently, we have included from a few slides back $617,000 as a carryover of currently appropriated funds to continue this project into 27. Shifting to the debt service fund.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dr. Leming.
can I ask you a question about tower
Sure.
maintenance? I understand they're the gold standard. I understand everybody's moving to them. Why does the Commonwealth of Virginia not have a pooled purchasing agreement with them?
We are on a state contract, so yes, that's another reason that it's easy to go with them.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And we had to change state code to go to Tyler. Yes.
Okay, debt service fund. This is the same slide presented in March. So debt service fund of approximately $9.9 million. And so the revisions that have happened since then include adding the $1 million fire department contribution. One note on this is we actually added this into the general fund during one of our budget work sessions, but with some more thoughtful budgeting, it's really best in the debt service fund. The intent of that cash is to cover those debt payments. They're not going to be paid out of the general fund. So you'll note I've pulled those out of the general fund. They've moved into the debt service fund. So I have $1 million for that contribution, which 777 of which 777 has been budgeted for the first year of interest payments on that borrowing. And then there's $223,000 that is currently in the budget as reserved for future use. And that may be impacted by potential issuance costs that may need to be funded with cash or perhaps not. So right now it is in the budget as reserved for future use. And then I've also removed the estimated payment that we included in this debt fund for the body tot renovation, which will now be funded with cash. So this is what that fund looks like now. You can see the $1 million addition and then the 570 subtraction for a net change of $430,000. The school sales tax fund. So this is what the school sales tax fund looked like back in March. And then moving into the revisions, we have now added $8.1 million that will be transferred out of the school sales tax fund into the capital fund for the renovation of Body Tot Elementary. We've removed the $570,000 payment that we would have made on a debt payment. And then we have also removed that. We have an amount that's usually reserved for future use, but obviously transferring $8 million out, we don't have that reservation of use anymore. So a couple of notes I did take on the school sales tax fund, now that you can see the revisions here. The school sales tax fund balance in the end of fiscal year 25 was $16.1 million. In prior meetings, I did discuss that we had those funds to be able to fund that body tot renovation in cash. That is going to be somewhat dependent on that reimbursing some of the bond proceeds from the high school project that we have remaining. So that is forthcoming. So that would be approximately $3 million that would come back to the school sales tax fund. And then with spending we had $9 million and there is an estimate when we were running these numbers to be conservative. We would still have $4.1 million remaining in the school sales tax fund by the end of 2044. So it would carry us through all of our existing obligations with some remaining at the end. So just some notes on that analysis when you're considering that $8.1 million coming out of school sales tax fund this year. Social.
Dr. Leming?
I recall a conversation about how to fund the body tot renovations. And I'm not here to discuss whether or not it comes out of the school sales tax fund. I'm not here to talk about that. The conversation, however, was a conversation about, do you fund it out of cash, or do you use that fund to pay down bond payments, or however you want to finance payments over a life of the renovation?
Right.
And I've forgotten how we got back to cash, but I just want to make sure that you tell me how we got back to cash.
That was with the guidance of Davenport, ironically, who wouldn't be making any money. So they did provide an analysis and said you don't need to pay issuance costs.
A quick question on the balance at the end of this period. That is all hypothetical, correct? We're not sure what could happen with income over subsequent years. We're assuming it will stay be steady, but it could increase or it could decrease, correct? So it's all hypothetical.
You mean the 4.1 remaining?
Yeah, right.
Yes, so we have been conservative. We have not counted future interest earnings on that money. We've only counted what we have earned, which is substantial. I can't remember the exact, but it's millions earned in interest. And we have also been fairly conservative with our annual sales tax payments.
I think that's very appropriate. Again, subsequent boards certainly will be looking
Yes.
at what happens with this through the next 2 decades.
Yes, absolutely.
You may not be the right person to answer this. It may be a Mr. Wilmot question. I understand that the actual proceeds of the tax have to go into a fund, and those proceeds can only be used for those things proscribed by the originating legislation for the tax. Does that proscribed description include the interest on those funds?
That is how we have handled it. I believe that is because if those funds are restricted, then by virtue the interest earned is also restricted.
Yes. And if I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
As I've always said ad nauseum, this board will always need those funds for school projects. So there's never a reason to push the envelope and try to utilize those funds for anything that's absolutely even questionable, because you're going to need them. The county's going to need them. So let's be safe and let's use the funds and the interest for only those clearly qualifying projects, of which you will always have a lot.
Okay, shifting to social services. This is the social services fund as presented in March. Just a handful of revisions here. So we discussed the state mandate to move all family service specialists to, oh, I missed a capital there, to a minimum of $55,000 salary per the state. And so that is estimated to cost $8,302. And then we have reduced the health insurance based on the most recent revisions, or the updates from the proposal that was presented on Tuesday. And then I also noted that there was a reduction that we could make in the Virginia retirement system costs, because the rates did decrease slightly for VRS in 2027.
Quick question.
Mr. Hutson. Ms. Galloway, we still don't have the increases to the other employees to keep this compression.
And my understanding, and Ms. Nunn is here, I don't believe that there was any compression caused by that after she analyzed it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
The net result is a $57,000 decrease to the social services fund, and some of that will be recognized in the local funding. As you may be aware, social services is funded by state dollars, partially federal, but things like personnel expenditures are funded with state and local dollars. So we've estimated that rate of local contribution there. Total general fund support of social services fund is $2.6 million. Moving on to the utilities fund. This is the utilities fund as presented on March 9th. I will note that Ms. Legg was here and presented some modifications subsequent to this presentation. So the slides that we have next do incorporate those changes as well as a couple others. So here's just a quick list of some of the major changes. So we have $815,000 for the VIPTES compliance project, which could be funded with $500,000 in grant revenue. That's incorporated into this budget. $3.5 million in additional capital borrowing. So those funds would fund the entirety of the Forest Hill project, which I'll also note is we've recommended be funded with debt in 2027, with those payments to be funded out of the development fund, because that is a development fund project, but we thought leveraging those dollars through debt would be more beneficial for cash flow than to fund it with cash. And then also includes the addition of phase 1 of the Main Street project. So then we have $121,000 reduction in the health insurance costs. And then we did have an amount that was reserved for future use. So same idea as the school sales tax fund. If you have some additional revenues, we're gonna store those for a future year. We have, based on some of these changes, that amount has gotten smaller that we'll save for future years in this fiscal year budget. And that's mainly due to that first interest payment for Main Street that's estimated. And then lastly, we have about $2 million of carryovers of unspent fiscal year 2026 appropriations. So we will be seeking some feedback from the board and input on specifically the Main Street project, and also any comments you have on Forest Hill and those recommendations. I believe, the Main Street project came in mid-budget year, so we do have additional analyses we should do regarding those debt funding that project, and also how that may impact the long term, those future years of rates. So we'll be certainly interested and ready to receive any feedback you have.
And the utility budget still includes additional personnel, correct?
Yes.
Can I go back?
Sure.
And how about the assessment that we talked about at the last meeting? Is that, I didn't see that in here. You had sort of eyeballed it at 250,000, I thought.
Oh, the audit.
I'm sorry, I used the wrong word, the audit. I apologize, my mistake.
So that is not in here because I have been talking to engineering staff and thinking about the best way to go about doing that assessment. And we believe that we can take a good chunk of this internally to reduce that cost. And we might be able to utilize some general engineering funds that we have in the budget for a project like that. So we want to fine tune that a little bit more.
Thank you, ma'am. Hey, can I ask a question just for probably the benefit of maybe the people watching? Utilities is the moment, we call it an enterprise fund, which is really an accounting term, as I understand it. It's still, for all intent and purpose, it's a department of the county, although for accounting purposes, we treat it as potentially a separate fund. If it were an authority, it would be a separate creature. Is that correct? Is that your understanding? For better or for worse, at this moment, I don't want to debate those merits. I'm just saying it would essentially have its own books and its own audit and its own board, etc.
Perhaps. The understanding as far as I do believe it would have its own board. The audit likely would still fall under the purview of the audit, and it would probably be a component unit of the county, similar to the schools or the Economic Development Authority.
Okay. And in that vein, though, would their debt count against the county, since an authority is a separate and distinct political subdivision of the Commonwealth?
I don't know that answer. I'll find out for you. Okay. Moving into the last slide, a couple of additional funds that I didn't think warranted a whole slide to themselves. The school construction project at the high school is ongoing, And we are requesting to include a carryover of $1.6 million of unspent FY26 appropriations. The same with FMRR. There are 3 projects that are ongoing, and we're requesting to carry that $87,000 into fiscal year 27. And lastly, the grant fund has $116,000 of projects that are in the sheriff's office as well as the parks that are grant funded that we are requesting to carry over.
And again, Mr. Chairman, these carryovers not only have the expenditures, but they have the revenue that are coming with them.
Correct. Thank you, Dr.
And one thing, if these carryovers exceed a certain amount, we would have to have a public hearing, correct? Depends on the amount.
Yes, thank you for that. That not if they're included in the original budget. So you're doing that with the budget adoption. However, if there is a state code section that states within, if we do additional appropriations of more than 1% of the original budget, we will have to hold a public hearing. So this does help streamline some of those processes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
our esteemed counsel provided, I believe, information to the board that it might possibly be within the purview legally of the EDA to take on the economic development project called the Gloucester Point Beach. And I think the amount of money that is involved in that discussion, forgive my memory, but I think it's about $870,000 on the county side. Am I close?
I think it's 747.
747, okay. If in fact the EDA were to consider that, how would that change some of these numbers?
So the match currently is funded with unassigned fund balance. So it would not impact any of your tax rates. It also would not impact any of the slides that we just saw. What it would do is it would essentially shift that from unassigned fund balance, and it would free up some of that unassigned fund balance, and then you'd be receiving that match portion from another source.
Keeping us at closer to 16% with our unassigned fund balance, yeah.
Yeah, right, that's exactly where my brain was.
Which is, when we get further along in our budget discussion, I would like to hold back any allocations from the fund balance until such time we have secured our loan, showing that we have the full 16%.
You were out of my brain. I'm also not sure that that's not a bad project for the EDA to take on personally. You know, my perception is that the board is often criticized that we do things at this end of the county and not much happens down there. To me, the Gloucester Point Beach is a gem in the rough, and doing something with that property that would significantly enhance it, bring it up to close to its highest and best use, itself would be an economic development project. So I wouldn't mind if this board were inclined to ask the EDA to at least consider that.
Yeah.
I think it's a worthy discussion.
If the board were to, yes, I'll move on to that next. Thank you, Dr. Orth. Would the board like staff to begin those conversations with the Economic Development Authority? Okay, we'll proceed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a meeting with them Tuesday, so.
Oh, well, that will work out. Thank you.
But feel free to break the ice.
Okay. I'll leave that to my colleagues here.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Hanson.
Actually, Joe, I met with Regine and Matt. We had a discussion because this is not just a project about the bathhouse or the shower house. This is a long-term municipal project that could be expanded from there and could be of use and maybe have, generate some income, renting the pavilions, or maybe even putting a municipal pier out there. There's a long-term projection that would be, I would really consider that, the EDA be a part of it, it's development. My concern would be just, I wouldn't want any delay in this project. We've already got the grants, we've got the money. They're already working on, restoring the beach and already have these things that are already waiting for us to just kind of implement. So I wouldn't want any delay in it, but I do agree that it is an economic development. It gives Yorktown something to look at, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be anything that would delay. It's a matter of changing the funding source so that we don't strap our fund balance to almost 15%. So, yeah, it's a good conversation to have.
Mr. Chair, I have one handout left, if I may. A handout that I have misplaced myself here, and I'll, let's see, I believe I have it here for the public if you'd like. During the last budget work session, Dr. Orth requested that I provide this information, and we've done this in past years, so this is a slide from past budget presentations, showing the total relief that is provided to citizens. Now, 2026 is an estimated number. We don't know that number yet. I did talk with the commissioner's office. I don't know what's going on with the mic. Sorry, guys. I did talk with the commissioner's office about could they help provide estimates for 26, and they're still in the throes of getting all of those applications, as well as trying to determine what the rate is. So right now, these are the best estimates that I've made, and they would equate approximately 3.6 pennies on the tax rate. So that is a total of $2 million for veterans relief, $181,000 for elderly, and $96,000 for volunteer fire and rescue.
Now, from what we did last year, we realized that we were looking at that 1.5 million number, and we adjusted the tax rate of 3 cents, which basically covered that cost. But now we're looking at what looks like would be another $500,000 in additional relief, which is not quite a penny, but getting close.
Correct. It has continued to grow. I have noted in charts it's perhaps starting to level off, but there is a situation in which I believe the veterans do get tax relief on perhaps multiple years at one time, and I don't want to speak out of school, but if Mr. Wilmot would like to add information there, sometimes I believe that skews some of the trends.
And this includes both the real estate and personal property, correct?
So personal property started being tracked in 2024. It wasn't independently tracked in the past, so you'll see that there's a little bit of a jump there where we started tracking that separately.
Right, but the 2 million now includes both
Includes
components.
personal property, correct.
Mr. Chairman, the General Assembly has before it some legislation it is considering. I don't think it's been signed into law as of today. It hadn't been, so I guess I know that it hasn't. Unless it was signed into law in the last couple hours, to study the effect on localities of the tax relief for the elderly, disabled, and disabled veterans, which is considerable, and you can see it from the chart here. The extent of your authority in this regard is to limit the tax relief to 1 acre. Currently, you are constrained to give the same amount of acreage relief to the disabled veterans as you do to the elderly and disabled, which is 10 acres. So I previously corresponded with the Commissioner of the Revenue, and I believe I shared that information with y'all, indicating that actually it wasn't that much difference between 10 acres, 2 acres, and 1 acre. But if you were to minimize the deficit of tax revenue to the county, you might consider reducing the acreage eligible for tax relief for the elderly and disabled, and therefore to the disabled veterans from 10 acres to 2 acres or 1 acre. That's pretty much the extent of your authority, because you have to give tax relief to the disabled veterans for 1 acre. You have to. You're constrained to do that. We voted on that, passed. Unlike other constitutional amendments which have been ignored recently, you have to do that one. You don't have to do relief for the elderly and disabled, but you can see from the chart that, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that much. So it's actually going down. So, and we know Gloucester, we're all old, so it's a good thing. But you can see the veterans is very important, but up to over $2 million. So I think the extent of your authority in this realm is to consider reducing the eligible acreage from 10 acres perhaps to 2 or 1, and I shouldn't express my opinion, but you should do that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Ms. Hanson.
So it was a couple years ago, our neighbor's family was gonna lose their home over taxes, and they had 10 acres. And they were elderly, they actually had multiple family members living in poor conditions, and, you know, to do something, I mean, I think some people have kept that amount of land. One, it's important to them to keep that acreage, and two, and that's why they kept it at that, because they did get tax relief. They may have sold some of these things off, but, you know, I actually went to Tara, and my husband and I were gonna loan them the money to help with the taxes, because they were about to lose it for a tax sale. So, I mean, and it was 10 acres. I mean, that's all they had. So I just like to have that be considered when we're talking about that, because some people may have just 10 acres because they are on hard times. So.
Yes, sir.
I understand that, and sympathetic. There's really not much of anything to prohibit the re-subdivision of a 10-acre tract into 2 5-acre tracts and to sell off the other 5 acres. So I'm sympathetic, but if I own 10 acres and if I'm in dire straits, there are options in that regard. And a 10-acre tract, which is the subject of tax relief, means that the tax burden is borne by those who are not beneficiaries of tax relief.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know these numbers, but just out of curiosity, I have 2 questions with this conversation. A, what would the difference be between a 10-acre tax and a 2-acre parcel? My inclination would be that the 2 acres or even the 1 acre are probably the land plus most of the improvements. And the peripheral acreage is probably not substantial. And so my pro forma in my brain is we don't get a lot of bang for that action. We won't get a lot of reduction for the action. I shouldn't use that word, I apologize. And my second question would be, perhaps to council, if in fact we were to make a decision to change the acreage size for elderly, disabled, and veterans from 10 to any acreage, would that trigger a public hearing?
Mr. Chair, yes, it would. You would have to have a public hearing. And yes, Dr. Leming, you are correct. The Commissioner of the Revenue's figures indicated to me, assuming their correctness, that there was not much difference between the revenues gained or lost. However, understanding that, as I indicated to Ms. Hanson, if you have a 10-acre tract upon which is situated a residence, so the benefit is really for that 1 acre upon which that residence is situated. One might be motivated to work to convey the rest, and then the rest would have taxes assessed upon them.
Thank you, sir. Anything else regarding this at the moment? Okay, so then I guess we can move into budget discussion. Or further our budget discussion with our worksheet.
Are you ready for the spreadsheet?
Yes.
I'll walk through a couple of the updates that staff has made. So the first, you'll note there's some additional revenue here. That's from 2 things. One being a grant that we learned of that will fund the Vesta call handling system that is a part of the 911 center. So I have incorporated that revenue here. However, there is an offset in the radio fund for the additional expense. It's not a one-for-one. We did have some of that cost already incorporated, but we incorporated the most recent estimate as well as the revenue. We've also done a change to fuel, which has an offsetting revenue, and I'll explain that in a moment. We have incorporated, I believe, I hope, a contingency for fuel. We all know that fuel is increased quite a bit recently, and our current estimates were created back in January, so we went back and revised those estimates, not based off of exactly the current numbers, we've tried to give some flexibility instead of doubling all of our estimates. So what we've done is incorporated $34,000 for a fuel contingency. So this is not actually putting it in a department right now. It's going to be based on, the recommendation is that it would be based on whichever department at that point is needing that additional cost. So that is also offset by a recovered cost for certain billings that we do to other funds, such as perhaps utilities. We also have Bay Aging that utilizes our fueling system, so that cost comes in, but we get fully reimbursed by them. So we bill them for exactly what they use. So that's some of the additional offsetting revenue that you see here in the top.
What are we spending a year on fuel now?
$280,000 is what the budget is in the facilities maintenance. I don't know the utilities off the top of my head, but that was about 300.
I'm going to ask a question. You may not know, Ms. Callaway, but is there a provision in the state code for you for localities or political subdivision state to be exempt from transportation taxes on the fuel?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think so.
I would assume so.
We'll find out for you.
More than likely, I have some distant memory that you have to pay the fuel tax at the retail basis, but then at the end of the year, you can apply for it to be rebated back to the locality. But that's old information.
And a majority of this fuel is wholesale. We have a tank at the county.
I understand that, but you're still paying.
Perhaps.
Transportation
We'll find out
Okay.
for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, additional changes since that time. I have notes here, I should have, okay. Oh, the health insurance. So, and I already mentioned pulling the fire department out of the general fund, but that is now in the debt service fund as well as the capital fund. So that's some changes as well. And then I've also, there was a little bit of juice left in the health insurance number to squeeze. So I did do that, which is reflected in this number here in contingency that is decreased further. Well, the figure has decreased further due to when I initially estimated this, I didn't spread it out across the different funds. So now I've reduced this a little bit more in the general fund to reflect truly the general fund portion. So those are the changes, and you can see now you're positive, you're to the good $129,000 at the top in the green.
Mr. Yes. So, Ms. Callaway, I'd like to compliment you. You did exactly what you said you did, which is classic for you. You put the line item by line item budget onto the website, and I went through the line item by line item budget until I got dizzy. And I had a question.
Okay.
In years past, I recall seeing about a $400,000 county administrator's contingency fund. I couldn't find it.
So the CA it's called assigned fund balance, and so it's right here, and it's $250,000.
Well, I couldn't find it in the line item budget. I'm not saying it's not there, I just didn't know where to look for it. So it's been reduced.
No, I think it's been 250,
Is it 250?
and perhaps 200 in years past. I think we increased it to
We increased it last year.
I thought it was 400,000 last year.
No.
No? Okay, fine.
It's
But there
been-
it is.
Been years since it was 400,000.
If you'd like, I can pull up the line item budget. No? Okay. It should be at the very bottom in the expenditures. It should be part of the contingency fund.
Maybe I was dizzy by the time
I think I could understand that.
And how much of that county administrator's contingency fund carried over?
Last year, all of it. So generally the way we work contingency is we track it in a spreadsheet throughout the fiscal year. So things come on because, we don't know about that, and things come back off versus physically moving money every time there's a thought. Because the goal is that if I need an extra $15,000 for some unknown situation, perhaps at the end of the year, I've saved $15,000 in my budget. And so we wait to the end of the year and determine is CA contingency actually required and then transfer. So all was returned last year.
None of it's carried over.
Correct.
That was another question. Thank you, sir.
I suppose in essence it's always it is fully carried over, but none was spent in the previous year. So
It's rebudgeted.
it's rebudgeted.
But it's not carried over. So it's not like 500,000.
Correct.
There's no funds.
It doesn't grow.
Yeah,
It hasn't increased.
Right.
But it does get built into the amount of money left over at the end of the year. So when we
Correct.
look at.
Which
to-
is
to-
outside fund balance.
As part of the fund balance.
Yes, sir. And I can go to the revenues if that's helpful, see where the taxes are.
Could I suggest that they just let the board decide what they want to do now? Because I think they just want to talk, figure things out.
Where do you all want to go next? Because we've looked at funding. We have not looked at a single reduction to this budget.
That's why I was looking at it line item by line.
So at 53.7, we have $6.81 million to find.
And at .603, we're in the good 529K, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So what's the number to just, for fun, just to get it to zero?
For the revenues?
Yeah. I'm just asking. Going down is going down. It's good. That's my point.
Mr. Chair, you were mentioning something about schools.
I did.
Last meeting, so I'm going to leave it up.
Well, I was gonna let everyone speak, as I've done in years past. When I'm chairman, I always try to go last. With that being said, raising taxes is, never fun. We have a whole litany of new taxes coming before us this year from the state level. And for me, looking at this budget, even at the 0.601 rate, that's probably going to be just in real estate taxes alone, about $1,000 more a year for me and for my real estate in the county. Is it doable? Sure. Is it what I want to do? No. Because we've already got in here, I think still built in, a 2% increase to meals tax, and I don't eat out every night, but I do eat out my fair share. And it's going to, this type of increase probably gets some of us unelected. And I know you shouldn't be basing what you're going to do on whether or not you'll get elected again, but at the same time, I will not stomach a 6-cent increase after a reassessment of an increased value of 17 to 18% to the property values in this county. I'm one vote, but at the same time, I've been here long enough to watch the school population go down probably close to 1,000 students, and we have continued to either level fund or increase funding the entire time I've been on this Board of Supervisors. I'm not saying we should be cutting their funding, but I don't think a 10% increase-ish, I think is what they're asking for, is sustainable for anybody when the regular growth is at, 3%. Unfortunately, this county has not been seeing that growth. For grins, if it's okay, I would like to see what level funding the schools would do to this budget.
Mr. Chairman?
For consensus?
Well, if there is consensus.
No, you go ahead. No, put,
I'm going to say I would like to see what funding at the superintendent's recommended level would look like.
That's what it is.
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't believe that's true. I believe the school board came back and substantially increased the superintendent's recommended budget. And I
Well, then
believe
that's
I'm
the
correct.
school board budget. That's their budget then. He recommends it, and then they increase their ask.
Do we have that number? Because it was a substantially less number.
yeah,
I do have.
yeah. Callaway, in the initial budget presentation given by the former county administrator, there was a table that had a bunch of items that came up to be 6 million, which included the school, but there were other items in there. Can we look at that table again?
Is that okay?
Remember, one of those was the SROs. That was another one that was there. That was a table that had a bunch of things that I think were relevant to this discussion.
So there's that number.
3.6, wasn't it?
Okay, I think it's close to $500,000 or something.
Yeah, it's like 3.4 and some change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's a penny.
Correct. But again,
I'm not suggesting that that's the right number.
No.
I'm just saying, for one step down, looking at the superintendent's recommended number is a place to just sort of start looking at it. That's all I'm saying.
So y'all want to add the extra whatever to what the school board has requested to put us further in the hole?
And just to clarify too, what we voted on Monday night was in addition to that as far as bringing up salaries, correct? Or with the bonus?
No, that's all this year money.
But that was included in this as well?
No, that's all this year dollars that was spent on the bonuses.
Okay.
Is that correct, Ms. Callaway? This year
Yes,
money?
sir, that's fiscal year 26 funding.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chriscoe, if we just said, okay, let's just not fund this, that's 3 million, that's what, about 4 pennies of the 6 that we're dealing with, right? Or is it something like that? Just,
A penny is how much, Ms. Callaway?
655 and some change.
655 and some change?
yeah. So maybe getting close to 4 pennies.
Mr.
Chair, if I
Wilmot.
may,
But
you'd
just
want to know that why the school board increased it, though, because there may have been something of which the superintendent didn't factor that is necessary in the school board's behalf. So I think you'd be taking on faith the accuracy and appropriateness of the superintendent's budget if you were to not factor in the school board's increase. So I think you should probably figure out why the school board did what they did.
I distinctly recall Mr. Leming commenting that we're looking at ways that would not impact the real estate. That's the big one. Yeah, that's the big one. We're looking at essentially impacting the real estate rate because we can't, unless we can figure out how to drop it even pennies, which went down from 603 to 601, right?
I think that's what the chairman was alluding to as well, was the impact of the duality of a reassessment and a tax increase on the citizens is a tough, bitter duality. I think that's what I heard you say, Mr. Chairman, in
That is correct.
a nutshell.
Very much so. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Hanson.
In our budget, is that in our budget, is that include a pay raise of a 2% or what, a percent COLA?
Well, that's where I was gonna go next.
Because, I mean, can
That
we just
we
not
can't-
give them,
We can't not take theirs out either. We can't take theirs out and not take ours out, but I wasn't do one step at a time. Because I have, rolling around in this giant dome of useless knowledge, looking at different ways to try to accomplish extra money for our folks for this year. Because as you can see, we had very little growth as a county, you know, and we've had very little growth the last couple of years. So I was just trying to think, you know, it's $1.1 million of their ask was a 2% compensation increase. My heartburn with this is the state continually falls short on what they need to do. The reason this 2% compensation increase costs us $1.1 million is because the state refuses to properly fund the SOQ positions that these schools have. And it's been a constant battle. And, you know, we can go to the state and they never address it. The state has, I believe, reduced their funding to Gloucester County Public Schools by $688,000. And I'm not saying we need to decrease it, but I want to see what the impact is to what we have going on.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Callaway, I have some reason to believe that the picture before me is not accurate in fiscal year '27.
This figure was the requested, the superintendent's requested budget initially.
As of March the 9th.
Yeah, I think there's a slide out there somewhere that looks different than this that has the superintendent's FY '27 numbers.
Yes, sir. The superintendent's I believe the compensation did change. I believe that went up from 2%. I'm gonna find the superintendent's.
Superintendent's recommended FY '27 budget at the top, and the numbers are in green, as I recall.
I just found it. Okay. The figure in his presentation on February 10th, it was $2,922,661 for the budget gap. And that included, it appears, instruction and academic achievement expenditures, several different items, the largest of which was $3.3 million for efficiency of operations, fiscal responsibility, transportation, and human resources. Happy to pass this around if that's helpful.
Yeah, I'd like to.
And I can
I'm
also,
specifically looking for page 26. Is that 26?
they're not it's 19, page 26.
In the bottom right-hand corner. I'll verify it later. We'll figure it out off some other time. Thank you.
Yes.
So I know, there's been complaints of level funding and, from them, and, it's kind of a want and need kind of situation, I believe, especially when you're talking about tax money and tax increases. I would say, I'm not in favor of level funding if it's something they need, or looking at ways of, making sure that they're taken care of, because education is the most important thing that we have in Gloucester County. So, but, if the school board budget came up and higher, and like Mr. Wilmot said, maybe we, behoove us to find out why. Maybe they found some other things, but maybe they just found some more things to spend money on that may not be a need. It may be just a want, which is fine. It's always good to ask and then be told you can't. But I think the superintendent's budget, and if I know Mr. Valdue, Dr. Valdue, he probably took his due diligence to make sure that most of that was a need and not a want. But, that's just where I'm at with that, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ms. Callaway, I hate to even have this conversation, but I think I'll explore it for the moment. Am I correct that if we gutted, I'm not suggesting we do this, if we gutted the school bus allowance out of the capital expenditures, it really won't affect this at all?
Correct.
I just wanted to hear you say that. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who are wondering why if we slashed the capital budget, why it wouldn't significantly lower their real property taxes. And it really is because the capital budget is not being funded, excuse me, I misspoke. The operating budget is not being funded with capital dollars. Did I say that right? Other way around. Yeah, I thought it was. Okay.
The capital budget is only being funded with remaining fund balance from a prior year.
I'm sorry, thank you. You said I had it.
Yeah, it's okay.
I knew I did what I said. Nonetheless, I think it's important for people to see that that our operating funds are coming from revenues being generated, ongoing revenues.
Correct.
And in fact, from a good accounting purpose, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it is generally viewed, in my experience over now my third term, using fund balance to fund your operating budget is not viewed kindly. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
And at the, how would Mr. Wilmot tell me? At the board's pleasure. Do you want to have a meeting with the school board?
Well, we did.
Well, I'm suggesting that
Well,
we.
but here's the other thing that I've been sitting on. Since my time on this board, these pupil average daily membership has decreased 21%. Our funding, local funding, has increased 27%. All I want to do is see it so that we can look at it, because there's things that I think are necessary. But at the end of the day, if we were to take all of this out and to decide, okay, we're going to do a compensation increase, we want the SROs, so then that number is going to change. However, if we add any numbers back, let's say we add the 1.1 and then the 570 or whatever it is for the SROs, and we go back and we increase their funding by that $1.6 million. They don't have to hire the SROs and they don't have to give a 3% increase. So at the end of the day, I am trying to get us back to as close to, and regardless, if we go to 53.7, my taxes are going up, and probably an equal number of people's taxes will go up just on real estate alone. I purchased my house 6 years ago. All I've done is exist in it. It has almost doubled in value in the last 6 years. Very fortunate. I'm glad of that. me as a tax-paying citizen of Gloucester County, the Commonwealth, Virginia, United States of America, I pay enough. I had to write Uncle Sam a check for $4,000 this year for my income tax. So, you know, it's like, how do you boil a frog? Just turn the water up a little bit at a time. All I'm asking is if the board is of the mindset, let's see what it looks like, because if we do this, then I also need us to take out the compensation increase for the Gloucester side of the house, just to see what it does. Because I'm not going to give our folks a raise and not the school folks. I'm not going to budget money for a raise for the schools without having it budgeted for us. And I've been that way every year that I've done the budget. I think that we just need to see it so we can look at what the bogey becomes. Not saying it's the final salvo, but this is our biggest expense, I think, that we have left that we have any room to work with.
And we're going to keep the meals tax at 6, is that correct? We haven't touched.
Well, at the moment, yes,
Yes.
but I've started to hear some folks that are worried about that.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But
That's- yeah.
for now, I think, well, it's up to you all. If there's a consensus, we'll move to at least see it. I'm not saying that's where we're gonna end up, but it's our, see what it looks like. Yes, Mr. Hutson.
I think the problem, we've been on the board at the same time, we've had disagreements with this. Yes, the state has decreased it, and yes, pupils have decreased. We have inflation that we all know about. But with schools, we need to, just because the state decreased the amount doesn't mean we need to decrease the amount. And that means as a result of the states decreasing, we have to offset what the states decreased their amount. There's going to be a lot of, we're talking about CTE that we want to start or grow further. Those are the items that are going to be cut because you have to have the core classes to grow and keep them in the schools. So you're not going to cut those classes. You're going to figure out what you can cut, and they're going to be some of them that are going to be cut or not added. So I think we need to look at it, and just because the state cut funding to the schools, we need to offset what the states have cut to the schools.
That's included in their budget request.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Leonard.
I'm willing to look at it, okay, but I just want to, I'm going to make a sort of a generalized statement, and the generalized statement is, you know, it is a very delicate balance between public services and the tax levies that we levy on our citizenry to fund those services that creates demand for people to live here, which drives your property value up 22% in 3 years. It is in fact humor me, it is in fact a success story to that equation that people want to come here and the land values have increased. I can think of other localities who are not funding their public services well, and their land values are not growing because people are leaving those localities to live other places where the services are more in line with their tax levies. So I'm willing to look at the numbers, but I think one of the things that drives value in our community is the quality of the schools. I believe that. And the quality of the fire services, and the quality of the sheriff's department, and the quality of the social services department, and the quality of legal counsel for that matter. So I'm willing to look at it, but I'm not, well, he's got oral arguments on Monday. I mean, he's important in this room.
But actually, I don't have to talk, so I won't mess up. But I will be watching with rapt attention. I think it's streamed.
It is
That's what
streamed,
I've
you're
heard.
correct.
So I was gonna actually travel to to Richmond with Mr. Smith, but no, not Mr. Smith, because he's not here anymore. But I'm gonna watch it via live stream. I heard I was quoted in GloQuips That was interesting.
That's big time right there.
You made it.
Let's
Yeah.
get a copy of that so you can
And
autograph it for
Mr.
us.
Smith it was asked by a friend of his, what is he doing? What does he think? Does he agree with that? And Mr. Smith said he was told to do that. So I've left it unopened whether I agree or not.
It's the best place to be. You don't have to tell anybody yay or nay.
That's what you missed.
You know, one thing to add to Dr. Leming is that, you know, we heard of the accomplishment of the school system and how well they're doing compared to all other schools. And, you know, that is a big plus. And as we've said before, and heard before, this is what, when people start looking, coming to Gloucester, you know, if they have kids, they're gonna be looking at the schools. Now, people that don't have kids, of course, are looking at quality of life. And some of the things that Dr. Leming pointed to, you know, good fire and rescue, good sheriff, low rates of crime, you know, good services, good hospital services, you know, doctors, I mean, everything that you would want, it really is located in Gloucester. So this is the tough part. You know, how do we deal with the fact that housing prices are increased? I mean, you know, you saw my table, what happened with mine, and I thought I'd just share it with all of you so you can see what's going on. And of course, some people will say, well, my house has been assessed this much more. I'm not gonna sell it. I'm here to stay. It's the people that when you're ready to sell, but most people don't. Most people want to stay here. And so thus, because of that issue, taxes go up, the assessment goes up. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing for people that are struggling, as we've seen, especially now with gas prices that are not going to go down. We've already heard that food prices are undoubtedly going to go up. We've heard about farmers dealing with fertilizer prices that are going through the roof. I mean, anything that's linked to a petroleum base, and I think they were talking about over 6,000 products that are out there are linked to petroleum based. So it's going to be a tough road in the next year until things settle down in the Middle East.
So we want to see the sheet with the,
Show it to us.
yeah. Right.
Mr. Chairman, as I understand, your desire is to show us level funding with the schools, step one. Step two, elimination of the 2% increase and on the school side, and elimination of the 1% increase on the county side. Is that what you intended to look at?
1% on the county side, I thought was more than that.
Is it more than, well, whatever it was?
I thought it was 3.
Okay.
2 point.
It's an increase in the step.
Oh, pull the step out, okay. All right.
Just want to see it.
I am just thinking of where I find, I need the, I
Correct.
might
No,
need
I
to
know,
pull
I
the
know.
numbers, so.
There's a bunch of numbers.
Bear with me.
I'm happy.
While she's looking at that,
I'm happy.
what did we ever decide with the community engagement coordinator? Did that get pulled out from their side and split? Because that's
I
part of their
don't-
budget.
I don't know where we've ended with that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bonniville, I didn't hear what you said.
The community engagement coordinator.
That they asked for that
Yeah,
we
'cause that
typically
was part
fund
of
on the
their
county
ask.
side of the house.
For the hospital.
Yeah, that was my question. Was it pulled out of theirs already and added into ours, or? Yeah, I'm gonna let her do her magic first.
If I may, historically, the community engagement coordinator was hired, that department was instigated, I don't know, like 18, 20 years ago. And it's a department that was funded and has been funded by the county to serve both the schools and the county's interests. So if there's something additional in the school's request in that regard, it's something worthy of examining.
Yeah, which it was. It was part of their second goal, was the community engagement coordinator at 88,000, so, yeah.
As I recall, our board had a conversation around this conversation and felt that it really ought to most appropriately come back onto our side if that was the decision we were going to do.
Yeah, the question was, that's what I'm asking.
Right. I understood your question.
counting the clicks to be able to undo it.
It's just not moving, it's stuck. I know, it's not clicking where I need it to click, and it's not moving when I need it to move.
If you need to take it down,
Okay.
if you need to not broadcast it, so maybe you can have better control. Or not.
Well, that's not gonna help at all, and stop it here.
Yeah, we'll take a couple minute recess. Let everybody stretch their legs while Ms. Calloway works on those couple of numbers for us. at the revisions that we asked to see, not that at any time, or is this a final, just so we know.
Okay.
Don't want anybody to be alarmed.
So I have so far just removed the full schools transfer addition, the additional school transfer requested. I am next gonna look into the pull the county portion out, so.
Just to see it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have done
Oh, that's okay. I'll just turn around.
Can't do that right now. Done. That's the COLA for the county, the additional step for the county, as well as the full school transfer.
But the .66 step is still there.
Correct.
And what is the rate that gets that number to 0? You knew what I was asking.
Would you like me to go reduce further from the real estate rate or adjust another source?
Real estate,
I think, yeah,
real estate.
real estate, that's what we're working on.
That's a tax decrease, hey?
Mr. Wood,
Takes the COLA out?
just,
Okay.
just to see, I'm not, at no point in time am I saying that's what I would want to do. If we're gonna show the full ask, we should show exactly what happens to the real estate
That's fair.
if we do nothing.
I agree.
That's a fair spot to be in.
I agree.
And for me, what did we have in for our COLA, Ms. Callaway? What was that percentage?
2.8%.
2.8%. So that's. Please, sir.
And what was the school ask? Percentage-wise?
I believe it was subsequently updated in the school board adopted budget. It was 2% in the superintendent budget.
That's working out.
And I believe it's 3% now. Thank you.
So,
What? 3%.
I think it was 3% is what I remember. It is 3%. I don't have it in front of me, but, okay. Well, my question was gonna be, what would it look like at COLA for both?
That's where I was gonna go.
I knew it was. That was your next step.
Uh-huh.
What would it look like if we did 2.8
On both sides.
on both sides? So you would restore the COLA of 2.8 on the county side, right? That's what it was, and we just add it back. And you'd add a little bit less.
So my estimation,
Okay, just wait a
oh,
minute.
sorry.
And where is the community resource officer not an SRO, the community engagement coordinator, where is that funding currently? Is it on our side?
I believe it's still on the school side.
No, I thought we
What did
moved it.
We moved to Towers, okay.
I think we did, Nick. I'm comfortable with that. I think that's what we did.
That's where it should be.
That's where it should be.
Correct.
And then my next question is, are the 3 SROs funded out of the county side now? Okay, that's all I want to know. So what does that look like?
I would agree with that.
So I had a gentleman at some point email me what he thought our predicted rate was going to be. Be hysterical if it was right.
Well, what I just, a tricky math I did a minute ago, it's, we lost another $515,000 in revenue to tax relief.
I know.
So we lost a penny, almost a penny there again, after 3 pennies that we raised last year too.
But the problem is, at the moment, it's out of our control.
Correct, and it's a $21,000, we go to 1 acre, it's an extra $21,000 in revenue.
It's not worth the heat. But Mr. Wilmot is correct, that in providing, by the state causing us to provide that tax relief, our only option is to disseminate those tax burdens amongst the paying customers.
But the state gave us the option to do it. We didn't have to do it. But see, the state, that's what the state's really good at, is going, hey, here's a great and wonderful idea. But the county can do it. So we did it. It's kind of like the lottery in the schools. We're going to put all this money into the schools from the lottery. Well, no, it didn't exactly happen. However, they also removed the same exact amount that the lottery created from the schools, instead of giving them excess revenue.
That's true. And we got those CPA wires charged up.
What's that?
Got those CPA wires charged up.
If I may, there is one thing I need to validate on the $450,000 for the cafeteria fund from last year. I need to confirm that's not incidentally in the revenues of that 2.2. So that's what I've kind of been trying to do some checking on. So if you hang your hat on that, on any of those numbers, let me research the 450.
Okay, that's fine.
But what would that tax rate look like if you zeroed that 2.2 out now?
Should be 55 point.
We're getting there.
All right, so here's the other issue that we have. We have, well, I say issue. We lost an additional $515,446 to relief. And I know we're at 0 here.
I'm just saying we can't do anything about it.
No. What I'm saying is, I mean,
Is that taken into account?
well, we're to 0 here, so I'm assuming that
It is.
we're hiding, it's not hiding, that 515,446 is included in that 2.25 increase. What does that make the school transfer, Ms. Calloway?
$31,963,189.
I'm sorry, Maria, 32?
$31,963,189. 30.
32 million, yep.
I mean, I'm not trying to be silly, just,
And where was it last year?
30.4 something.
so, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
At the moment, with what's on the board, we've funded fully, by the way, since there's no state funding for the SROs that we're going to pick up fully. We funded the community engagement coordinator for the high school. Was that a full-time position or a part-time position? I think it was full-time.
Was that, it
I
was,
need to double check that that's in there.
it was FTE. It was 88K
I thought it was 88K. It is 88. So it's a full-time.
FTE.
Right.
But I'm not
But
sure
I thought
that
we
we,
did it half and half.
That's why I'm asking, by the way.
it's a part-time position and it was incorporated into the community engagement budget originally. So that's the only place that that position appears now.
Half or a whole? Half. So what, and that's 44,000 or 88,000?
It is not 88,000. I believe it's approximately 40. I'll find out for you.
Are you talking about the grant?
No.
Okay.
No. No, I'm talking, the schools requested, as I recall, a full-time community engagement coordinator for the high school alone, and they had $88,000 in their budget for it. And I thought this board had a discussion that we all thought it was most appropriate that, since all the other community engagement coordinators were paid by us, that we would include that in our budget. And I do remember some discussion at some point whether it was a half or a whole, and that's what I'm asking.
Currently, there's a half position and it's 39,310.
Well, I don't want to, with the board's pleasure, can we just make it a whole position?
Please, I would like to see that, because if we're going to do it,
Yeah,
then,
do it.
because, right.
I'm not trying to drive the board, I'm
No,
trying
I
to
would-
get to
I
a
would agree
number
with
that everybody has some consensus around. I personally think those community engagement coordinators are probably worth their weight in gold. Is that right, Nick? 88, one something?
159.
Remember, the board funds the school's lump
Correct.
sum funding. So although it's important to look at each line, an item, you give them X dollars. You haven't even categorized them by the 7 or 8 categories. So if they decide to spend it on 10 community engagement coordinators, they could do that.
Correct.
So, we've got 2.8% on each side. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
We have 3 SROs funded.
Well,
We have-
additional.
I'm
yes.
sorry, additional, I apologize. We have 1 community engagement coordinator full-time on our side funded. The engineer's position on our side is included in our budget currently, as I recall.
We do need to fix the engineer revenue side because that was netted into the school contribution. That's one change I'll have to make.
Okay. And then the grant writer was 50/50. I think that's what I recall.
But the grant writer was removed when we removed the school contribution.
I'm sorry, say that to me?
Yeah, the grant writer was incorporated into the school contribution, so when we removed the full contribution and then added back just the 2.8 COLA, that grant writer was removed, so
I'd like to see the grant writer included.
Yeah, 150, thank you. Is that okay?
I'm trying to get someplace to, some workable,
We can just go home, Joe, we've got this.
Oh, no, we got something else to do. But if we can get to a number that we want to marinate on, because we have another meeting scheduled Monday, or if we get to a point tonight that you all look at this and say, we can vote on this next Thursday, we don't have to meet Monday.
but Mr. Chairman, I like your comment. At one point in this process, you made a comment, or someone made a comment, that it was a good process where we came to a spot, stopped, and had the public come before us at the next meeting and render public comment. I mean, I think we had that with the boat tax, to be quite frank with you.
Correct.
I thought that was a good process.
Quick question from Ms. Callaway. So one of the other items on that list was a contribution for the sheriff. That's all embedded in their budget, right? That was another one of these requests above and beyond the normal procedure, right?
The full sheriff's request is
Right.
incorporated.
Okay, good.
It's in the budget.
Okay, so
Tell us.
And the SROs, they're not additional SROs, that's just the funding that we have to cover to make up the difference, that was grants.
There is no grants for these.
That's what I'm saying, we have to offset the grants.
But, no, so
There is no grant.
these are, I believe they were new positions. But,
I don't think so.
or maybe it is the grant that expired.
It's the grants that expired.
The grants that expired for the ones that we got us to full-on SRO. There is a chance
Yes.
that we get some of that grant money again, but it'll go to whomever is asking for it, and if there's any left, we might get some more.
Can you show me that number zeroed out?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. So, Ms. Callaway, assuming, that's a bad word, at this particular construct, better word, we fully fund the SROs whose grants are expiring. We fully fund a new county engineer. We fully fund, or we share funding, I don't know how you want to say it, the grants writer. It's a 2.8%, we'll call it a increase in wages for the county employees and a 2.8% increase in wages for the school employees. What else have I missed?
It's a 2.8% increase to the school's budget, because they can spend it however they choose.
I wasn't finished yet.
Okay.
I've done this before. There is such a thing as categorical funding, however. Am I correct, Mr. Wilmot?
Yes, sir.
And categorical funding, as I recall, since I've done it, creates silos. And there still can be movement within the silo, but there cannot be movement from one silo into another silo. Am I correct about my construct?
Yes, sir. And if I may, Mr. Chair, and you're familiar with this over the years, Mr. Chair, there's been talk back and forth, and I think perhaps over a short period of time, we may have moved to, the county may have moved, or almost moved, to categorical funding. It's a very contentious topic. But the point, I think, that needs to be impressed upon everyone here is, as Dr. Leming indicated, even with categorical funding, you can move within your own silo. The 7 or 8 categories, I cannot recall them. 8. So he remembers. But you are examining very carefully, and I admire you for this, each line item, or many of the line items of the school board's request. But it's lump sum funding, and so you're going to fund them X dollars. And because you don't have even the silos, which is fine, which is absolutely fine, they can fund it, those dollars, with however they want to do it.
wasn't it my impression when we had that big debate that with categorical funding, if they want to change categories, they got to come to us?
Yes, sir.
Right, so we would be burdened every time they wanted to make a change.
And that's a good reason not to do it.
I will say it was an extraordinarily controversial decision on my previous board that was not embraced warmly. And at the time, I will also add, it was because our board felt that there had been substantial deviation of funds that had been presented in the budget and used otherwise. And I don't think we have that before us.
Yes, Ms. Hanson.
So typically, most corporations around here, they usually, their living increases are like 2%. And we're talking 2.8. What would it look like if you just split the hair and just said 2%? What would be traditionally, with major companies, that's what my husband gets is a 2% every year. What would that look like? I'd love to get more, but if we're trying to keep the taxes low.
Well, so the only, looking at my rough numbers, I think we're looking at roughly a 5%. Is that right? Am I doing the math right? Almost a 5% increase on real estate tax. No, thank you. If I just looked at the whole stream, to get us a 2.8% increase.
So right now, at that 2.8, we're at 0.564 from the equalized rate of 0.537, right? That's what we're looking at? Yep. Okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm just saying, we're looking at, instead of 0.603 or 601, we're down to 0.564 versus the equalized rate, which we talked about, which was 0.537, right? So I want to make sure.
Maybe it's just me, but it says current rate. That is not the current rate. That's the equalized rate. It's not the current rate.
That's true.
So it'd be nice, I think for me, if no one else, to understand that all of those rates are less than the current rate.
Mr. Chairman?
What's the current rate?
So
0.6.
this is the current rate at which the budget was built. So 310 is the current rate on personal property, 4% is the current rate on meals tax, 0. So it's only that 0.537 on which the budget was built.
Right. But the current rate
Apologies.
is not 0.537.
That is correct. I'm happy to make a note if that would be helpful.
Well, if for no one else, then just for me.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Dr. Leming.
I thought I remembered where the 2.8 came from. I'm not saying the government is correct, but I remember in 2026, the Social Security increase COLA was 2.8%. That's where it came from.
But it's not set in stone, right? You don't have to do that.
No, but that's been generally where we have been for the last 6 or 8 years as a board. And I fought it for a while because I don't know how many years Social Security went with 0 increase. Well, I'm not either, but I'm just saying for years there was 0 increase. And it's a baseline that we've looked at as a starting point. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that didn't get to 2.8% this year. Maybe that's why they're Fortune 500 companies, but at the same time, I know we have other items to attend to, and we have,
I was going to respectfully suggest that we stop here and cogitate on it and come back.
because we are at a point where our rate has increased 5% to get us to a point where we can offer the 2.8% increases in alignment with the federal government standard for Social Security increase. And I don't know where else we want to go, but we do have a Monday night meeting scheduled. Mr. Hutson?
And that was brought up earlier about the differences between the school board's budget and Dr. Vladou's. Maybe they could say something Monday.
We can ask them to be here.
Not the whole board, but
Let the schools know that we've been discussing this. I'm assuming someone is probably paying attention.
Have every confidence.
Correct. So, is my board of a mind to stop here for this evening? Because I know we have a closed meeting, and then we can look at this again on Monday, which is the 27th, I believe? Okay. Can you send us this tomorrow? Any other questions, comments? Is there anything else that you all would like to see Ms. Callaway provide to you all prior to Monday's meeting if there's any different number you'd like to see.
No, and just recognizing that if we were using last year's litmus as a way to deal with the veterans, last year it was 3 cents, looking at what it would have been 0.54 if we had to increase a penny just to deal with the veterans, just as a comment.
Correct.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, there's
Again, yeah.
almost a penny growth and relief for the veteran and the elderly.
Yep.
Actually, the elderly went down, but
And I do know, I think we've heard that other places are dealing with even a more significant impact. And this, of course, is an impact on us, but I think there are worse case scenarios for places like Virginia Beach and Hampton, Norfolk, so, yeah.
correct. Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Nicosia.
And I don't know who can answer this question, but this question was proposed to me, so I'm gonna ask it. Veterans, elderly, and disabled. So the person that called me was an older person. What qualifies elderly and disabled?
There's a chart that the Commissioner of Revenue uses. It's based on income, assets, and everything else. It's available in Ms. Harris's office, and it's available online. I can get you the link to that if you want, or
I'll
We
send
can-
them the right way.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then there's a, if they want to, they can go in there. I think there's actually have a pamphlet in that office, because I've actually picked one up before when my mother was still alive, to see if she would qualify. And it's, if you notice, our number has gone down. It's you gotta be really, really,
You have to be stressed. I think it's a percentage of poverty. So,
yeah.
it's a good program.
Yeah, but it is available. I mean,
Yeah.
And we should make, people should be aware that it
Yes.
is available to people of limited means.
I'll also make a comment, although it's been 20 years ago, we adjusted our elderly brackets. As the tax rate climbed higher, we saw fit to make that more available.
And Mr. Chair, this board did that about 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Was it that long ago? I thought it was 3 years ago.
Well, time flies. But that doesn't mean it's not worthy of reexamination.
That's what I was saying.
Okay. Thank you. Before us next, we have, and I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a resolution to go into closed meeting. Mr. Wilmot, would you please read us?
Whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors desires to discuss a particular subject in closed meeting during the course of its meeting of April 23, 2026, and whereas the nature of the subject is personnel matters, executive search for county administrator, deputy county administrator, and finance director, and discussion of those positions. Such discussion in closed meeting is expressly permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors does hereby convene in closed meeting for the purposes herein expressed pursuant to the authority herein recited.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Callaway, would you poll the board?
Dr. Leming,
Yes.
Mr. Hutson,
Yes.
Mr. Chriscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Nicosia,
Yes.
Ms. Hanson,
Yes.
Mr. Bonniville, Dr. Orth. Motion carries.
We are in closed session. Into open session.
Whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors has completed its discussion in closed meeting and now desires to continue its open meeting, and whereas only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting, and the only subjects heard, discussed, or considered in said closed meeting were the matters identified in the resolution by which it was convened. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors does hereby reconvene an open meeting at its meeting of April 23, 2026, and certifies the matters set forth in Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712D.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Callaway, would you poll the board?
Mr. Hutson? Yes. Mr. Chriscoe? Yes. Mr. Nicosia? Yes. Ms. Hanson? Yes. Mr. Bonniville? Yes. Dr. Orth? Yes. Dr. Leming? Yes, ma'am. Open session. Okay.
Thank you all. As a matter in our closed session, we discussed an addendum to our contract with the Berkeley Group to go out for a search for our new county administrator. There is a contract that we discussed. Is there a motion to accept that addendum? We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Callaway, would you poll the board?
Mr. Chriscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosia?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson? Yes. Mr. Bonniville? Yes. Dr. Orth? Yes. Dr. Leming? Yes. Mr. Hutson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. We have one other item. We have a motion. We have a second.
I've been put out of a job.
You have. You are too slow, Mr. Hudson.
I mean,
So,
I feel it's like Family Feud.
do I need,
Yeah, come on.
all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.